When two lovebirds are dating, they're always looking forward for the day when they will say, yes, I do. And fast forward to the day when they get married. They get into the honeymoon stage where the statements are always, alas, we were always made for each other and we are a match made from heaven. Then comes the uninvited drama stage, and this one is the real one where the rubber meets the road. Now by this time, you and your spouse already know each other quite well. We've already seen each other's nakedness, and we are thinking, what did I see when settling down with this one? By this time, we know each other's imperfections. We know where we hurt each other the most. We know when they start chewing, how they chew, how they will snore when they sleep. We know each other's weakness more than anything else. Now allow me to talk to us about familiarity that sets in the moment we get married and get to know each other quite well. Because if there is any institution where familiarity has built a house, a whole nest, and it is not renting the space, it is in the institution of marriage. Why? Because the moment we start seeing each other's nakedness and start seeing each other's weakness and imperfection, we start taking each other for granted. Now the blessing in each other now turns into a curse. We stop seeing each other as a blessing, and we start looking at each other with what is called contempt, because familiarity breeds contempt. Now that contempt is built in our hearts and it eventually pours into our marriages. When we look at each other, we start taking each other for granted. We no longer see each other the way we saw day one. There are things that we saw and we really valued. Now when we look at each other, we will quickly remember the mistakes that the other person did. We will quickly see what they are not doing and not what they are doing. We look at one another and wish that we had seen this earlier, but it is too late. And the beauty of it is that this can always be undone. Now we can reverse this, whatever we are looking at as a curse in each other rather than a blessing. We can turn it around by being grateful. Being grateful that we have each other in our lives. Being grateful that at the end of the day, my spouse will come home. You know why we take each other for granted? When we remember that my spouse went away to work, my spouse went out, but at the end of the day, they will come here. Now that is why we take each other for granted, because we are somehow entitled. We feel that I am entitled to have my spouse 24/7 for those of us that are living with our spouses. Now for those of us that are in a long distance relationship, we feel entitled that in the morning my spouse has to call me, and before we sleep they have to call me. Now when we are grateful and when we start cultivating gratitude in our marriages is when we know that we need to appreciate that that spouse is a blessing. They can be taken anytime. And far be it from us when we start looking and appreciating when it is too late. Why not cultivate gratitude as early as now? Why not start appreciating what our spouses are as early as now, before it is too late, when we wish that I wish they could hear me say how much I appreciated them, how much I love them. Please let's not allow familiarity to seep into our marriages. And in case we've allowed, because it is human enough to see that every time we are with each other, it is human enough to feel that we are taking each other for granted. But how about if we started looking at one another from a new lens? From a lens that says, they could also start taking me for granted, and that is not how I want it to be. Now let's cultivate gratitude into our marriages. My prayer for you is that one more time, you'll start appreciating your spouse. You'll start seeing the blessing they are to you. You'll start looking for ways of appreciating them and letting them know that each day they are appreciated better. The Lord bless you and bless your union. Thank you for always being a blessing. I pray that the Lord renews your union from now on. Amen. Shalom.